So I like riding my motorcycles. Behind me is a K1600 GT BMW. This is a 2012. I do a lot of miles on it. I like to ride with a bunch of my friends. We'll go different places. We'll rent bikes, borrow bikes. But one thing that sort of always goes with those rides is the routes. I've always been asked, how do I put the route together? I'm usually the route master putting the routes together, but I don't mind passing that torch from time to time, and I have, and it's been great because I can just sort of sit back and enjoy the ride. And that's one of the things that all my friends that I ride with tell me is, this is great. I just get on the bike and I follow you. Where you go, you're going to take us somewhere good, and we're always happy. As long as we always end up at the hotel, we see scenic stuff, we do exciting things, we have good food, it's a great ride. And to do that takes some time. It takes some patience and, well, just a lot of hours looking things up. So I'd like to share some of my tricks, some of my tips, and by no means am I saying that this is the right thing or the wrong thing to do. This is just what James does. I will say that the planning that I put together is mainly for road trips, paved road trips. I have also put adventure trails together, and that's with using Basecamp and Garmin GPSs. Totally different. What I'm going to be going through is just utilizing Google Maps or maps.google.com. It has the information that I'm looking for that's key for making what I believe is a good ride. It allows me to do a little bit of research on some of the areas that we're at and allows me to compile it all and save it in just a quick link. Key things that I like to make sure that we're doing on a ride. I like to make sure that we're going to see points of interest. I like to make sure that we're going to be on really cool roads. Sometimes when you look at the map and you see all of the twisty lines, you're going to have to dive in a little bit further, just because you want to make sure there are not a bunch of driveways on that twisty route. I've made that mistake before up in Tennessee, where I thought it was a really great route and it turned into a single lane road full of houses and people pulling in and out. It wasn't a neighborhood, it was just a 20-mile curvy road that would have been a blast had nobody actually built homes out there. I like to try to take into consideration what the people I'm riding with like to do for activities. Some people like history. Some people like rocket ships. Some people like music. So when I'm looking at a map, I will try to dive in some of those areas in the points of interest and see if there's a landmark or a Indian mound or a obscure museum of rockabilly artifacts that we found in Kentucky, which actually was really cool. Food is very important on my routes. I like to try to plan my routes out when I'm looking at the routes and figuring out, if we leave at 9 in the morning, in 3 hours we're going to be ready to eat. What food is around there? And a lot of times I will deviate routes to go to really neat looking mom and pops, barbecue joints, burger stands, Mexican food, anything that's going to be something specific that I'm only going to get there. We do not do chains if we don't have to, except for Dairy Queen. Usually the routes, I shouldn't have to worry about gas stations, but it is a good idea to look for them to make sure that they are actually going to be around the areas of food. So when you stop for lunch, you can stop and fill up. I will take my time putting the routes together in maps.google. I will build a link, and then I will go to my phone, because my phone usually sits up on the handlebars, in the cradle, so I utilize that for the map. I have a Garmin on this bike that I can have, but I usually don't use it just because the phone is just so much easier. When I'm using the phone, I'll usually use Waze just because I like to get the police heads up. Tells me if there's going to be some kind of obstacle on the road. It usually has up-to-date information for areas of congestion or detours if we need them. The problem with Waze is it's never really going to select the roads that I want to go onto. So I need to figure out waypoints, and I will make a list of those waypoints via what little towns, creeks, churches, and I will build a list of those waypoints and then put it in reverse into my Waze in the morning. So as we're riding, I can just scroll through and click into the next one. So as I'm riding, we'll come to a stop. I'll scroll through, I'll hit the next one, and we keep going. So we don't have to stop every 20 miles to update a waypoint. You can also take maps.google and put a link in there, send it to yourself in a text message. On my phone, I will open it up with Google Maps. I use an iPhone. If you use an Android, it could be different, but I know with an iPhone, it'll ask me, do you want to open this in Google Maps? You can, and it will route that specific route that you have. The key is to not make it too long. Make sure that you have time to make stops, take pictures, hang out, and do a fuel stop chat. All right, let's get into the maps, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so let's just put some of this to practice. So let's say we are staying up in Bryson City, North Carolina. So let's find Bryson. Okay, here's Bryson. Let's say we're camping out here somewhere on the river. But we got a day, and we know that we want to see the Cherahall, however you want to say it. I'm sure we all say it differently. And I know that that starts in Robinsonville, and it ends in Tellico Plains. So we're in Bryson, but we want to get to Tellico Plains. So let's look at directions. And we'll put Bryson as the starting point and Tellico Plains, Tennessee as the end point. Now with this, you'll see that it automatically goes to the Cherahall. It's the quickest route there. We can zoom in. We can see that we pick it up right here in Robinsonville. There it is. And we start out from there and go across the Cherahall. Now looking at this, I know that it's going to be an hour and 56 minutes. But we're going to have to stop for gas in the morning. So that's going to be a 30-minute add-on. And I know that there's going to be a lot of things to look at while we're riding that we're going to want to stop and take pictures of. So that 1 hour 56 is going to really turn into about 3 hours. So if we start at 8:30, 9 in the morning, by the time we get to Tellico, we're going to be hungry. We're going to be wanting to stop, take a little break, talk about the route. So if we're in Tellico, we should probably find somewhere to eat. So as we're in here in Tellico, we'll go ahead and look for more and put in restaurants. So it's showing us all the restaurants in the route, but what we really want to do is look down here. As you can see right here, you've got the Beach Drive-In, the Ironworks Grill. I will say that if you want an outstanding chili dog, this is the place to go. Right here. The Tellico Beach Drive-In. So great. At this point, we know where we're going, when we're going to get there, where we're going to have for lunch. But now we got to figure out the route back. So with that, we'll go back to here. We'll close that out, and we'll add in another destination. We're going to make our route back so we could add back in Bryson City. But we don't want to take the same route back. So it populates that in, but let's say we want to shoot up and do some other routes, and we can zoom in and look at some of these other roads that are around here. We could take the Shirahal back and then take maybe this little squirrely road right here, or we could just do something totally different. And as we're looking at this, we'll be like, hey, there's Tail of the Dragon. We're going to ride this on a Wednesday. That's probably a good day to do the Tail of the Dragon because there's not so many people there. So we could take this. Whoops, there we go. We'll take it and we'll drag it up here. And this will reroute us. We could do that way, or we could get rid of that Bryson right there and we'll just add in Tail of the Dragon. So now that's going to loop us around, but we're seeing that it's putting us on a main road, so we can just take that and drag that over to here. And now we're sitting at 3 hours and 19 minutes. Now remember, that was 2 hours to here, so it's another hour and 19 to the Tail of the Dragon. So we could easily ride that, stop there, have a nice little drink of soda to be safe on the roads. We're going to look at the road. We're going to take a look at the route. This is pretty squirrely looking road. Let's make sure that there's nobody on there. So we can take this dude. We'll take him over here and we'll just drop him down. What's this road going to look like? Nice. 2-lane. Good pavement from what we can see right here. And hopefully clear. So we'll X out of that. We'll zoom back out. So now we're at Tail of the Dragon. We still need to make our way back to Bryson. So now we can just add in Bryson City. If I spell it right. And that's going to take us down past Fontana Dam over to Bryson. But now we're only sitting at 4 hours and 17 minutes. We still have a lot of time left. So if we come out of Tail of the Dragon, I was really curious about this road right here. Let's take a look at this. Let's make sure that it's even paved. So when we click on the little dude, it's not coming up as blue. So I'm thinking this is not going to be paved, but we could take a look at it by hitting the satellite view and scrolling in really close. Now the road looks like it's starting out paved. As we wind our way up, it still looks pretty good. So let's just skip ahead in the road a little bit here. We can go by this Avery boat ramp. As we scroll down a little bit deeper in here, okay, it's got a line. It's got lines on the side of the road, so this is paved going through. Now I don't know if I've ridden this road before, and I may have, I may not have. It does look pretty familiar. So I'm not going to tell you that it's paved the whole way through because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I am seeing painted lines on the road, and that's always a good sign. If we can see here, it still has a line coming in. Yeah, it looks like that'd be a pretty good road to ride. So we can go back to the map view. We'll get rid of the blue line. Now if we want, we could drag this down over to here. So now we're looking at a 5 hours. So 2 hours over to Tellico. Make it 3 plus 1, so we're sitting at 4. So we're leaving out of Tellico probably about 1 in the afternoon. We know that it's going to be about an hour and a half to the Tail of the Dragon. We're going to have to stop the shop there, buy some stickers, buy a shirt, have a cup of coffee. So that's putting us pretty close to time of when we should be getting back to our campsite. So 4 hours and 46 minutes. We'll add in an hour for gas. We'll add in another hour for stops and an hour for lunch. So adding on 3 hours to the 446, now we're sitting at a full day of riding. And that'll make our way back. And there we go. And actually it changed it to 4 hours and 43 minutes for some reason. There might have been a change, or I may have added in a little loop somewhere, but it self-corrected that. So 4 hours and 43 minutes plus the 3 that we had for brakes, stops, gas, little talks along the road, a couple pictures here and there, maybe a sticker at the tail of the dragon, and we've got ourselves a route. Additionally, something I like to do when I'm going somewhere where I'm not familiar with the routes and the roads is there's a really good resource and website called motorcycleroads.com, and you'll see it right here up in the search area. But once in there, you can go to whatever state you want or a county. Right now I've got in here for North Carolina, but if we wanted to do Texas, let's say. So I did this last year on a trip that we did to the Three Twisted Sisters. And what I wanted to do was string together a bunch of different routes over a 4 or 5 day period. The map will populate with rider reviews and routes from other riders that are out there. You can look at the bottom, the type of color that goes across the bottom will correspond with the type of route. You can also go up here to the best rated motorcycle roads and rides, and you can change to best scenery, most fun to drive, most tourism opportunities. We know that the Three Twisted Sisters is right in this series, so what I'm going to do is just zoom in real quick because it takes a while to populate all of the different routes. So if we just wait here, the highest overall scores is what we're searching for. As you can see, it's not the quickest website in the world. There's a lot of information that it's pulling down. I just went through a little bit of a time lapse with you, but if you pick a route, so we know that this is the Three Twisted Sisters, we could drill down in on that, and that has the information on it as far as it's the Three Twisted Sisters, the scenery, the ride enjoyment, and some notes on there as well. If we wanted to pick another route, we could do this one right here. Let's click on this, the Texas Twister. Like I said, it's not the fastest website in the world, but when it comes to planning routes or looking for routes, this is hands down one of my favorite sites with the best information. And I try to utilize this when I'm building a route, either to cross-reference some areas that I've looked at already or to find new areas that I don't know about. So that was it. Pretty simple, pretty easy. It really is a no-brainer. It's just a little bit of time to put it together. You're going to have to dive into those roads. Using the little, the little guy that you toggle over and you can get the street view is a great thing to use. One, for looking at turns and trying to figure out what kind of roadside landmarks are there, and make a note for yourself that, hey, there's going to be a stop sign here and there's this old fire engine that's to the side that's used for advertisement. I need to turn left there. You may remember it, you may not, but it's always helpful to have that. Scroll down as deep as you can. Make sure that the road doesn't turn to dirt. I've done that before. It may have the blue line when you drag the guy on there so you can get a street view, and when you click on that, the lines will go blue, and usually that means that it's all concrete or all paved roads, but not always. I've been on many a road in California where that road turned to dirt, and this bike isn't really good in dirt. I've done it before. It's not fun, but it's challenging. Just go in there, scroll down, zoom down as much as you can into the picture of the satellite. Look at the date of that picture on the satellite to see if it's a close, date, and see if there's a road. You can tell if there's lines in that road or if the road is a different color, and trace it back. Again, doing dirt, use Basecamp if you have a Garmin. If you have another program that you like to use, I'd love to hear about it. If you have tips or suggestions or any kind of comments that you want to do this, put it in there. I'll eventually read it. Probably. No, I will. I'll read it. Again, I'm James. We're Fuel Stop Chats. We're a podcast, and we just like to talk about things that you would stop and talk about at a gas station when you're enjoying a coffee and maybe a little smoky treat. We'll see you on the next ride.